Welcome to today's edition of Mental Health Matters. Today's topic is End of Life Part 2. We have Beatrice Bailey on the show today, and she's going to give us tips on how to deal with end of life. Stay tuned. Beatrice, thank you for being a guest on our show again, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you got to share with the audience. Well, why don't we start by you introducing yourself, just in case somebody new tuned in with us.
Okay, well, my name is Beatrice Bailey. I'm a local author and professional speaker, and I wrote my book. The original book was called Farewell, My Friend,
Yes.
And it was a book that I wrote as a result of taking care of my late husband. I didn't know what to do as far as taking care of an adult, so I literally wrote a book that takes you from, if you're healthy as a horse, all the way through the illness, the grief, and even bagging and tagging their clothes. That ultimately, that's what happened. So It's a different kind of book. It's a workbook with
Yes.
charts, and it's also filled with humor.
Yes, yes. And this book was birthed out of your, you hadn't even went through that process yet. You just kind of started the book as you was going along.
I wrote the book while my husband was dying, while we were
Wow.
while we were trying to figure out what was wrong with him, because we didn't exactly know. And so many people came to me during this time and said they wouldn't know what to do. And I've always been inherently organized. Just the way that I'm constructed, I'm a really organized person. So what I did in order to try to put my hands around a very large and cumbersome process is that I wrote the book, and I really assumed, what if someone wasn't as organized as I am?
Yes.
What do they need to do? So literally, I would be in a situation, I'd step out of the situation and say, okay, what does a person need to do?
Yes.
And so that's how I really wrote the book.
Wow, wow, very impressive.
Thank you.
Because a lot of people in a situation like that, you know, people deal with things differently, as you know, but it would probably have been hard for someone else in a situation like that to be focused enough to stay organized and to think about other people at the same time to birth a book like that.
You know, it's interesting because when this was happening, I mean, he was my second husband. He had promised me rainbows and unicorns, you know, if I married him, and I got a lot of that.
Nice.
I didn't anticipate having to take care of someone, particularly someone who was as passive as he was about his illness. If I got something, I got something. If I make it, fine. I'm a type A personality. You probably noticed that by now. And so I really wanted to get the nuts and bolts associated with it. So many people approach me, and then I'm a very, very spiritual and religious person. I'm not one of those people that said, I heard the voice of God. But I said, Lord, what am I supposed to do with all this?
Yes.
And I got a very strong message that said, you will write a book and you will help other people who are not able to help themselves in this process. So here we are, 2 books later.
Nice, very, very nice. I know when it comes to, like, you know, illness, I know some people may have a difficult time talking about it, and for whatever, you know, their personal reasons is. Can you kind of elaborate on illness, the word illness, and kind of how it has pertained to your situation and in this book per se?
Well, interesting. We live in a culture whereby we are very youth-oriented.
Yes.
We don't want to talk about death or dying. We want to talk about Botox and injections and implants. I mean, that's what we want to talk about.
Yeah.
But it's a natural extension of life is death.
Exactly.
And our particular culture is just not geared towards that. You have other cultures. You have Asian cultures. You've got Spanish cultures like Dia de los Muertos. They celebrate those who have died, and it's a whole process. They're not afraid of it, and they're not I'm not the kind of person who's longing for my heavenly home. I just hope I don't get a tap anytime
Yeah,
soon.
of course.
But yet still, I believe that it is a gift that we give our loved ones to be prepared.
Exactly.
But again, people don't want to talk about death or dying. A lot of people don't, because if they do, someone might die.
Yes, exactly. And it's interesting that you mentioned that we are a youth-oriented culture, because it's so true. Because you think about, as the more I look at people in society and in the media and on social media, it seems like the people who are starting to age a little bit, not all of us or not all of them, they don't want to grow up. They still want to do the things they was doing when they was 20, and they may be 40 and have kids that's 20, and they are still doing those things. And it's like, okay, scoot out the way and give your kids a chance to be 20 years old.
Exactly. And it's important to age in place.
Exactly.
You're going to get older. I mean, my miniskirt days, I used to wear my miniskirt. Those days are long gone. So I'm very aware of what I should be doing.
Exactly.
And as you get older, hopefully you learn to really appreciate all aspects of life, and you don't sweat the small stuff. You really do reach out and grab every ounce of what you have as far as life is concerned. And that is really realizing you are going to get older. Because think of the opposite. If you don't get older,
exactly.
I want to get older.
Exactly.
I want to be one day an official little old lady.
Yes,
officially.
Exactly. Yeah. I like the term aging gracefully.
Right.
You and I, we both work out. We go to the gym and eat healthy. So we want to, we're doing things to age gracefully, so to speak.
Well, not even that. Aging gracefully is important, but I really do believe that it's incumbent upon parents for you to be as healthy as you possibly can be, so that you don't end up being a tremendous burden to your children. I don't want my kids to be in a situation, well, it's your turn to turn mother. I think she blinked. I want to be able to be as healthy as I can, so I can really fully enjoy them, enjoy my grandchildren. I even have 2 great-grandchildren. I started when I was 5 or 6 or something like that. But I want to be able to do that, and you do that by taking care of yourself. And taking care of yourself is also something very important that a caregiver needs to do as well.
Yeah. Well, I know hospice was a big part of your husband's journey. So, and I wanted you to kind of talk about that. How is hospice kind of like a key role in caregiving?
Well, the unfortunate thing about hospice is that because a lot of people don't understand hospice, they bring them in at the very end. Your loved one is just moving towards the light, and then you bring hospice in. And that's really unfortunate, because you can have the support of the hospice organization for 6 months or longer than that. And that involves having a nurse, a chaplain, and a social worker. This is someone that meets as a team on a weekly basis. They meet with your doctor, because by the time you're in hospice, there's no longer a need for you to come in for doctor's visits. Because you already have a terminal diagnosis. So they're able to monitor your health, make the adjustments of whatever. The advantage of the social worker is a social worker is able to take a eyeball view of what's going on in your home, and be able to give you different kind of suggestions on what is going on, and things of that sort. Same thing with the chaplain. We had a minister. It was Pastor Ephraim Williams of St. Paul Baptist Church. He was our pastor, so I thought, well, we don't really need a chaplain, but it comes with the program, so fine. The chaplain is designed to deal with end-of-life issues. She was able to draw questions and comments and observations out of my husband that no one else did. Hospice is really important. But it was interesting, because when Rick did get his terminal diagnosis, and I still talk a plural, we went and wanted to do hospice, he was against it, totally. So I had a friend from the gym who was a hospice volunteer. He said, let me come over and talk to Rick. So he came over and talked to Rick. What I found out then, my husband was from Connecticut. Well, Dame Cicely Adams, I think is her name, she's the one that started Cicely Saunders. She started hospice here in the United States, brought the concept over from Great Britain. Well, and she brought it over to Connecticut, where he's from, so he knew about hospice in Connecticut. Well, back in Connecticut, the only hospice support you got were in facilities. They sent you away to die. And Rick says, I want to die in my home. So once he found out this hospice can support the family in the home, he was more than willing
Yeah.
to enter into hospice. And they
Yeah.
were great. I mean, they were great.
So well, I guess I should say this. Did it help you out any dealing with what you was going through as far as your husband? is concerned?
It did, because during the time that the hospice social worker came in, our house wasn't exactly happy camp.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't see no rainbows and didn't see any unicorns. He
Yeah.
promised them, and they weren't there.
Yeah.
And so what had happened is that Rick had become very withdrawn. He watched a lot of World War II. He wasn't in World War II. He would read about World War II. He'd look at a VCR, a video about World War II. I didn't know what the devil was going on.
Yeah.
So he was just withdrawn.
Wow,
You know,
yeah.
he didn't want to come to bed. He would lay on the couch watching TV, and I went like,
Yeah.
what's the deal? Well, the hospice social worker came in and looked at what was going on. She said, I know exactly what's going on. She said, I want you to go and pull down some information on post-traumatic stress. And I'm going to bring you
Wow.
some information next week. Well, Rick had been in Vietnam, done 2 tours in Vietnam, and never talked to anyone about what he had seen. And what I found out is that there are certain key triggers for post-traumatic stress.
Yeah.
One is retirement, because once you retire, you don't have the 8, 9, 10 hours that you would normally take up your day through working. That's gone.
Yeah.
So you've got 8 or 9, 10 hours that then can be filled up with all these nightmares and negative thoughts.
Yeah.
There's that, and then a catastrophic illness can also trigger post-traumatic stress.
Interesting,
Well,
yeah.
he retired
Yeah.
and developed a catastrophic illness.
Yeah.
So he was in the throes of post-traumatic stress disorder. I didn't realize that, but she did.
Yeah.
And once she explained it to me, I didn't then personalize his withdrawal.
Right.
You know, so she helped me tremendously.
Yeah. So you was kind of taking it personal.
I was.
Yeah.
It was all about me, but it wasn't.
Of course. So pre-need service in the area is seldomly talked about. What is it and how is it beneficial?
What's interesting, pre-need is basically finding out or making your arrangements, your celebration of life, funeral, whatever you want to call it, arrangements in advance. And that, again, a lot of people don't want to do that, because if I do that, I know you're trying to push me into the grave, you know. But well, there's a lot of reason to do it. You want information is power. The other thing is you want to find out, is it going to cost you a lot? Is there a difference between if I donate my body to science, you can do that. Do I want to do a green burial, whereby they don't embalm you, they put you in the ground and just let nature take over? Do you want to be cremated? Do you want a formal funeral? What are all the associated costs with something like that? So that's really important. And all of the mortuaries or funeral homes will do that for you. You're not obligated on taking their services, but you go in armed with information, and then based upon that, you can make a decision. It also helps if it takes a lot of the strain away from your family.
Oh yeah.
They've already decided what's going to go on, and maybe you've got one child or uncle, whatever. I want to do this. You go, no. Here's a sheet of paper. This is exactly what my loved one wanted to do, and you follow the wishes. The other thing that's important, like anything else, not everything else, in this particular situation, if you lock in the cost of your funeral in today's dollars, and you die 30 years from now, your funeral will be, you've already paid for a funeral in today's dollars, but you get the full benefits of whatever 30 years, 1948, 2048 prices would be. Case in point, my little aunt, she had pre-need done, and she spent a lot of money in her mind. It was $600.
Wow.
$600, and she had an elaborate funeral, because that's what she signed up for during that point in time. $600, and she had probably like, I don't know, $15,000, $20,000 funeral.
Yeah.
So that's the advantage.
I think that is very wise.
Right.
And, you know, a lot of people don't want to deal with it. And I've actually heard people say, well, I'm going to be gone. I ain't got to, you know, that's on somebody else, you know. And that's, to me, that's very selfish.
It is selfish. It is selfish, you know, and it's, I remember I gave a presentation at a ladies' conference, and I was in the back selling one of my books, and this elegant lady came up to me, and she says, well, honey, my kids don't know where any of my stuff is. And I would really, she said, well, when I die, they'll just have to try to find it. And I thought, you selfish woman.
Yeah.
Why would you put your children through that? It's so unnecessary.
Exactly.
People are already going to be upset, you know, hopefully they'll be upset and won't be, you know, throw a chest button, bumping, yay, she's gone, she's gone. But they're going to be upset about you, you being gone. And at least you can take that particular stressor totally away.
Yeah.
High five!
I know, right? Well, you know, you did some interesting things. to celebrate your husband's life. Like, let's kind of talk a little bit about that.
Well, my husband was a very private person. I'm a big personality. I want to talk to everybody. Everybody come see me. Blah, blah. That wasn't his deal.
Yeah.
He didn't really want people to really know he was that sick.
Yeah.
But it came to a point where he really was sick, and his friends and loved ones wanted to come and see him. So what would happen? Someone wanted to come. Bruno wanted to come by and see him. So I'd get him up, get him dressed, break a schedule, make sure I had coffee, tea, whatever, and then he would visit. Right. Well, then the next day Aubrey wanted to come and visit, and so I said no. We're going to have an open house.
Right.
I'm going to have an open house. All y'all can come.
Right.
And tire him out for 2 hours.
Right.
And then we can go back to a quieter existence for him.
Yeah.
So I had said, okay, I will do something simple. I'll do cookies, tea, punch, coffee, keep it really simple.
Right.
Because if I started doing chicken wings,
oh yeah,
potato salad, stuffed mushrooms,
yes.
they're gonna be there all day,
yes.
hanging out of the kitchen, to
yes.
see what's being gonna pull out of the oven.
Yeah, exactly.
So I didn't want to do that. So what I had done was I got a open house sign from my neighbor who was a realtor, put that up, sent out an announcement. Okay, Rick, open house for Rick from 2 to 4. So I figured, great. With that, I had a little book, sign-in book. They could write something sweet to him or whatever. And I figured, okay, 2 hours, we get 20 people in here, we're out of here.
Yeah.
At 2 o'clock, Julius Mitchell was the first one that came through. After that, almost 200 people came.
Wow.
I went like, we didn't expect that. He was so thrilled. They didn't stay long. They came in.
That's
and
awesome.
Then one lady was walking around eating a cookie, and I thought, well, I'm the hostess. So I said, well, hi, did you work with Rick at the post office? And she said, no. She said, I saw the open house sign. Is this an open house? She came, she thought I was selling the house. She thought, I said, no, this is an open house for my husband that's dying. But she came and she wanted to buy the house.
Oh, I think you had to have your personality to pull a lot of this stuff off, because once again, it would have been difficult for someone in your shoes to maintain stability mentally and be able to just kind of, do the hustle bustle of things and stuff.
It's interesting because I had another friend whose husband was in hospice, and she's okay. She's I want to do an open house. Well, it was too late. I mean, he was in hospice. He was very, very frail. As a matter of fact, she was a registered nurse.
Yeah.
But because it was happening to her, she was just out of it. So I came over, brought the book, sat down, talked to her, walked through different things. He died 3 days later.
Wow.
She couldn't do an open house.
Wow.
So again, once you find out that the person is ill, just decide what are some of the things you want to do. I mean, do you want to go to the coast, rent a beach house? Do you want to have a barbecue? He's always wanted to go fishing. Then rent a boat and everybody go fishing, or something like that. Stop and think, what can I do to bring a smile on his face?
Right.
And
exactly.
that's what I tried to do.
Yeah. At any point, did you break down, like in front of your husband, or was it more like, you kind of want to,
Interesting, yeah, because I'm Wonder Woman. We know that. We're not one Wonder Woman. But I can remember 2 times. I can remember once I was going to my doctor because I had a pain in my knee. Then I had pain in my shoulder. Then I had pain in my head.
Yeah.
But then, 4 weeks, I'd seen my doctor 6 times.
Wow.
And so she finally put her clipboard down and rolled over and grabbed my hand. She goes, no one comes in as often as you come in for nothing.
Right.
What's wrong?
Yeah.
And I'm not a crier. I burst into tears.
Yeah.
I said, he's dying. I don't know what to do. I feel so helpless.
Yeah.
And I just literally broke down.
Yeah.
And then she recommended I do some counseling. I did do some counseling after that. And then remember once I was sitting on his bed talking to him, and I broke down crying. I said, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I wish I could do something. He says, you're doing everything you need to do.
Yeah.
And I said, Rick, do you ever ask God, why you? He goes, why not me?
Yeah.
He said, what's so special about me that I don't have an appointment with death?
Right.
So he was, even the social worker said, Rick will show us all how to die.
Wow.
And if I could have 1/8 of the grace and the control that he demonstrated during that, I mean, I'd be happy.
Yeah. I go and visit a lady, I haven't been in a while, but in Napa. And your story is very similar to hers when she was taking care of her husband. And I'm actually, matter of fact, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to have her to tune in to both of these shows so she can watch, because I know she would enjoy it. And a lot of the stories that you share just kind of put me in the mind of when she was her husband, caregiver and stuff. And, she's, pretty strong, and she's a, spiritual woman
Right.
of God in so many words and stuff. But I know it was kind of tough for her too, inwardly when she was kind of going through that process.
Well, it's unknown territory. I can't say, well, yeah, I lost a husband in 73, then I lost another one in 87,
Right.
then I lost one I didn't like in 98. I mean, I've never had a husband that I loved and then died.
Right.
And and I'm a control-oriented person.
Yeah.
Depends on the other terms. I'm control-oriented. I had no control about what was going on. So that was very, very stressful as well.
Wow. So, few people want to write a obituary, and what is the best approach when someone is thinking about writing a obituary? Because everybody want to put like all the best things in there, and they want to highlight and celebrate their loved ones passing. What's the best approach to actually doing a obituary?
Write your own.
Okay.
Literally, write your own, and not to push the book. I am pushing the book.
Yeah.
In it, I have a worksheet that has all the key factors in your life. Your parents, your military career, if you have pets, where you went to school, highest accomplishment, blah, blah. No one knows more about you than you.
That's
it's
right.
particularly what's important to you. Maybe you won the strongman contest in 2016 and you didn't tell anybody and you got the trophy. This is something you're proud of. So
Right.
you need to have all that stuff written down, either literally write it or at least have all the key factors down so someone they can pick it up and they'll be able to write the obituary. And there's two different types of obituary. There's one that goes in the newspaper, which is really more like a death announcement. Some people go into more detail. And then there's one that you would have for your program. But what I try to tell people, based upon the experience that I've had in the subject matter, most obituaries are classic examples for identity theft. So
Wow.
if I say,
Interesting.
Beatrice Bailey, I was born to Beatrice McGillicuddy, who married Harold Johnson. So if someone steals my identity, steals my credit card, and for verification, what's the first thing they ask you?
Wow.
What's your mother's? I just gave it to you.
Yeah, exactly.
I just gave it to you. And so if you have an estate and someone has compromised your identity and you're dead, you don't know about it, but they've set up a whole nother persona based upon information. There's a whole cottage industry that does that. So I encourage people, after your loved one dies, pull up their credit history and double check that that has been taken care of. But someone also told me that this one woman, her husband died, he's dead, she called up the credit bureau and canceled all of her credit cards. Well, they were all in his name. She didn't have credit.
Right.
She didn't have credit. Everything was in, she overreacted. Everything was in his name. And he was a breadwinner, and she had a little business doing graphic design or something like that. So suddenly she didn't have her own credit.
Right.
So you need to do your homework before you do, a knee-jerk reaction.
And be smart about it
Absolutely.
too.
Absolutely.
When we did the first show, I was actually telling a friend about some of the stuff that you were talking about, and I liked the whole show, but I know I was telling him about how you was communicating that the passwords, having passwords to Facebook's bank accounts and stuff like that, and even your phone.
Right.
People don't think about stuff like that, and he was sitting up there like, man, you're right. Like I wouldn't even think about stuff like that.
You wouldn't. And you can't get into that.
Right.
I mean, you can't break the like if you've got key information, like contact people in your phone.
Right.
And no one has that. Ask my great-granddaughter, she can get my phone. I mean, the kids know how to get to my phone, but that's just because they used to use it, but they do know how to do that. But that's really important. It's something that's just overlooked.
Right, exactly. That's exactly right. Are you comfortable talking about the actual death of your husband, and how did you prepare for that?
Well, like my beautician, Carla Prayer, Inner Beauty Moment, okay? Carla, she was telling me, she says, B, you're very organized. You can be prepared as you want to be. You're not going to be ready for it.
Wow.
And that's true. I had everything done on paper. I'd had the obituary done. I knew I had, quote, the luxury of knowing that my husband was dying.
Right.
So I had time to prepare things. I had time to go up and work on the program. He had a beautiful program, not because I did it, but it was a really nice program with lots of pictures. But I worked for Xerox, so I was able to get the pictures, the thing copied and whatever. So that's what I kind of did with my with my nerves. But so during this time, to get prepared, I was able to get his burial clothes in advance.
Wow.
You know, I got them out, figured out what he was going to wear, whatever, and put it in a dress bag by the front door. I had all of his hair products, just there, because I had the time and I had the nerves, so I had everything done. So what I did, I would spend time, I would talk to him as, you know, he wasn't really communicative that much, but I'd go and I'd kiss him, and I'd sit on the bed. He loved to hear me knit. He loved the clinking of the needles. And I don't know if he liked that so much, or if he liked the fact I couldn't be knitting and making a list of things to do for him. So I think that's what he preferred. Will you please, come knit. So you can't be knitting and writing out a list for him to do. So I would talk to the hospice nurse. I mean, what do I need to look for? I mean, what's going to happen? She says, you'll know. You'll know. Wow. And slowly what happened with Rick is that he didn't have much of an appetite. And that's frustrating also for a caregiver, particularly if the caregiver is a mother and a female, because we're taught to nurture. So if I know if I feed you, you're going to get better. Well, when a person is dying, they don't have a need for sustenance. They just don't have the appetite. And really, if their body's shutting down, it's painful to try to digest that food. You know, you've got constipation issues, particularly if they're taking morphine or other drugs for pain. So that you've got issues in that. Because you'll go and you'll say, oh man, I'd really like a hot dog. So you dash off, you do a hot dog. He'll look at it, he'll take one bite. Boy, I really am hungry. I sure wish I had some clam chowder. You get it. And so he's like, I'm cooking all this food and he's not eating it. I can remember once he wanted a 2-piece Kentucky Fried Chicken meal, all dark meat. I went, fine. So I went and got it, came back. He ate everything. I was thrilled. That was the last full meal he ever ate. After that, he existed for about 2 weeks on nothing but 2 glasses of orange juice. And so the nurse was telling me, she said, he's died of cancer, but the cancer is not going to kill him right away. It'll be his lack of eating, because you need nourishment. But you can't force him, you know, to eat. And I can remember one of the saddest things. I went to do something, and he lost 100 pounds during this time. My husband was 6'3", about 218 pounds. So he was a broad shoulders. So he was a big man. And I can remember once him taking off his wedding ring and looking at me and just sliding across the hospital table. I had a little table on the side. He didn't look, he just slid it across, and I took it, and he had a gold chain of his that I took, and I put it on, and I wore it that way, but he didn't say anything, he just slid it across. It was so sad, you know. And then the nurse came, and she says, if he's not eating, he was a diabetic, he doesn't need insulin, because insulin is to balance your food intake. Well, he's not eating, you know, so we want to keep him comfortable. So, he was very, very quiet, and even he used to always like to have TV, didn't want the TV on. He wanted the house quiet, so we kept it quiet. One day I ran out to get something, because I knew he wasn't going anywhere, came back, and he was sitting up in the bed, the lights were on, and I looked, and he had a deep baritone voice that had gone away, with lung cancer had gone away. His voice was back. And so he said, babe, you need to get my pants, his black pants, because he wasn't wearing pants, just underwear. And I said, why? He said, and he was fumbling in his nightstand. He said, I need to get my wallet. I've got to go. It's time for me to go. Well, you don't have to be a rocket science to figure out what was going on. And so I said, okay, I'll go upstairs and get your pants. And so I called him and I said, look, he's something's going on here. Then he rang a bell, gave him a bell in case I was upstairs. I came back downstairs, and he said, who are those people sitting in the chair? I didn't see any people in the chair, but I learned from a great book called Final Gifts, which is written by 2 hospice nurses. And they said, you stay with that person wherever they are, their sense of reality. And so I said, what do they look like? He said, well, it's a black man and woman. I said, well, honey, I think they're here to help you cross over. He went, oh, okay. I ran upstairs. I said, he's seeing people. And so I heard the bell again. I came back downstairs. And he said, who let that dog in? So now he's seen a dog. And so I said, what does the dog look like? Because we had friends who he really liked their dog and the dog had died. I said, well, is it Freckles? He goes, no. I said, well, I think the dog belongs to the people. He's a nice dog. He can stay.
Yeah.
All right, then I went back upstairs. I heard the bell again. I came down. Now he's on the side of the bed. He hadn't been walking for a couple months on the side of the bed. And he was going to, I said, what are you doing? He says, you need to clean up this house. Well, I'm a neat Nick.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep a really neat house.
Yeah.
And that, so I took what they told me in that book and threw it out the window.
Yeah.
And I said, this house is not, I said, I will clean up the house. I said, but if you get out of that bed, because he had gotten out the bed before and fallen and gashed his head, you get out of this bed, I will send you to a nursing home.
Yeah.
That was his number one fear.
Yeah.
I said, I will clean your house up.
Yeah.
And that's the last conversation we had.
Wow. Wow.
And so the next day I went down to my girlfriend's house. I do oil painting whenever I have time. I was painting down at her place, and then my niece was taking care of him. She said, I can't wake up Uncle Rick. So I blasted back home, and he had gone into a coma. So I called hospice. They came out, and they says, yeah. I give him about a day, and they says, and you can't sleep downstairs anymore. You need to go upstairs.
Right.
You can't do it because he's trying to stay there for you. Even the coma, if I came into the room, he would get agitated because he would sense I was there.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and then I'd kiss him. So I went upstairs like they told me.
Man.
And I'm not, I know,
It's
serious stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not one to follow directions.
Yeah.
So I came back downstairs,
Yeah.
and he was lying there. And you hear the term someone's expiring.
Mm-hmm.
He was taking little tiny breaths.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kissed him and I said, honey, you're really leaving me in that. And I said, don't worry, I'll take care of the grandkids. You go see your mother. Your mother's waiting for you. Jesus is waiting for you. Don't worry. And what they do, what hospice has you do, they'll give them morphine in a syringe, not with a needle. And you just give them because they don't do a lot of swallowing. And morphine helps your breathing, but additional application of morphine suppresses the breathing. So they told me how much to give him, and I gave him a kiss. I said, let me know when you're gone. I went right back upstairs and went to sleep. And my husband, whenever he would leave for work, because he usually left earlier than I did, he'd always give me a kiss. So I was out, and suddenly I felt a kiss. I sat up. I said, he's gone. And I went downstairs, and he was gone.
Yeah.
But I was afraid he'd be tortured. You know,
Yeah.
he had the face of an angel. I kissed him and closed his eyes. And we had turned him on his side because he had started the death rattle. You know, there's fluid in the lungs. And I pulled the pillow out. The pillow was still warm. So he hadn't been that long since he had died.
Wow.
My sister was there with me.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't there by myself when it happened.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I'm
No,
sure
she
you
was
had
there.
a lot of support through the
Yeah,
process.
she was there. And the night before he died, my son and his wife came
Okay.
over, and that. But yeah, so it wasn't as scary as I thought it would be.
Okay.
Yeah, but he literally slipped on out of here.
Yeah, yeah. And I know, you know, just your experience in the book you've written, and I'm sure that it has changed people's lives going through this process.
I've been told that a lot. I mean, when I was a member at St. Paul, they were gracious enough to give the book out to anyone who's going through a grieving situation. And every time I come to church, I'd be stopped by different
Yeah.
people. Your book has helped me so much. Today I went to a funeral, and a lady came and she says, I need to get another copy of your book
Yeah.
for a friend of mine who just lost their husband. So it's been a blessing. I'm not bragging to other people because I learned too much to keep this to myself.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
But there are also humorous things that happen. I want to get to the humor.
Okay, yeah, let's
yeah,
get to it.
Yeah, right.
'Cause that's my next question.
So the day that my husband died, I went up to my son's house, and they had cooked dinner for me. I said, "Okay, I'm getting ready to go." My son says, "No, you're spending the night." I says, "Look, I'm fine. I'm gonna go home." Because I planned to have every TV on, all the lights on. You know, that house wasn't going to be quiet.
Yeah.
You know, so spend the night. I want you to spend the night.
Yeah.
So I go into the guest room, and then my little grandson Isaac, who was 5 at the time, he comes in. He comes in with this little bear. So my little bear, sweet little bear with wings. It's an angel bear. He said, "Mimi, this is my Papa bear." And he said, "Papa died today." And I said, "I know, honey. Papa died. He's in heaven. He's an angel. He's not in any kind of pain." He said, "I know." He goes, "Mimi, you know what?" I said, "What, sweetheart?" He says, "You're kind of old. You're going to die too." So I said, "Isaac, Mimi's going to eat her vegetables, exercise, and go to the doctor. And so that won't happen." He goes, "Yeah, okay, right."
Yeah.
So, and then another time, my grandson, who's a year younger than Isaac, was in town, and it bothered him when I picked him up that I was in the house by myself. Mimi's in this big house by herself.
Yeah.
She's here by herself. Papa's not here. Isaac, she's there by herself. Isaac goes, look, look, look. Mimi's going to get a boyfriend.
Yeah.
But he's going to be old. He's going to die too.
Yeah.
So, according to Isaac, I ain't got a chance for a life after him. But my husband and I, we laughed a lot, during his illness. I can remember once I came downstairs and I said something to him and he snapped at me. And I went, ooh. Him being 23 years in the military, I said, you're going to get a demerit for that. He said, put me down for 3 today. And I went, ooh, it's going to be that kind of a day. Yeah. So whenever we could find humor, we tried to find humor to try to ease things up.
Yes. I know there was some unique parts of your husband memorial service. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, it was interesting. I wanted to be as personalized as possible. I went down when I did the pre-need with my girlfriend, and we went down and we're talking to the people, and I thought, well, we want. He was so proud of his military service. I said, do you have a military, casket? She said, we do in the other room. I said, is there anyone in it? She said, no, there's no one in it. So he got this gunmetal gray casket that had the insignia of the different armed forces on it. He really, really liked that one. And because he had been in the Air Force for 26 years, I decided to have the releasing of the doves. Because they took off, they looked like planes, taking off like they did. So they wanted a family member to hold the lead dove. And so I had my oldest grandson, who was really close to Rick, to release that particular dove. I had it recorded and sent copies of the DVD back to family members. It was lovely. And then I remember my son and his wife had a barbecue for all the family afterwards. So my one girlfriend, my closest girlfriend, she and her husband were leaving, and she had a little gift box. She said, this is, funny I have it on today. She said, this is, you open this up when you get home. Read the card first, and then open up the box. And I went, yeah, okay. So my sister and I went home, and this particular bracelet here, and that was in the box. But I read the card. It said, thank you so much for everything that you've done. And then the other side, my girlfriend wrote, while Rick was dying, he gave this money to buy you a replacement silver bracelet for the one that he bought you that you lost. But I wasn't to give it to you until he died. So he's in the other room dying, but he's still thinking about me.
Yeah, awesome.
So it was really sweet.
Yeah,
really sweet. Am I doing you in?
Oh yeah, you are. I don't want to cry. But it's a really good journey. The journey for me, listening to you, it's very good, and it's kind of like a romance. You saying goodbye to the woman you love, like a good romance.
It was
story.
really sweet. Yeah, it was It was really. I didn't expect it, and the thing is, I thought I lost it once because of the clamp. I put the clamp down, and all right. So the bracelet that he bought me, I bought it. It was in an antique store, and what it was, I saw it. And I really liked it, but I didn't want to pay that kind of money for it. But I came home and told him about it. Yeah. And he said, "Why don't you the next day? He said, you should go get the bracelet." And I said, "Well, I deserve it. I will go get the bracelet." The bracelet was gone.
Yeah. Oh wow.
And so my birthday came.
Wow.
My birthday came. He comes out with a box. He beat me to it. He had gone down and bought the bracelet.
Nice.
So I lost that particular bracelet, and then he replaced this. So I went back to, there's a health spa that I've gone to with my girlfriends down in Mexico. And so I go down there, and the bracelet's there. Yeah. And so I told the guy, I said, what's with the bracelet? Oh yeah, this guy makes bracelets. He's done it for years. And it was an exact replica of the one that I had lost. Nice. And I was able to replace it with that one.
Nice.
Yeah.
I know, you talked about people that after the loved one is gone, people that mean well, but come off the wrong way, so to speak. And eventually a person has to move on. They may have to take the furniture out, the clothes out. And sometimes people on the outside look at that in a negative type of way. Kind of talk about that.
Well, it's interesting because I have found that some of the people who don't mean to be insensitive, that aren't, are people who are in church. And the reason being, they don't know what to say. They're not skilled in dealing with death or dying. So they're going to throw a scripture at you. They're going to throw a cliche. The Lord's not going to put more in you than you can bear. Yeah. He's in a better place. My husband's not in a better place. He's not next to me. Don't do that.
Yeah.
You know, or they'll say, Rick wouldn't want to see you this sad. No, you don't want to see me this sad.
Exactly. Yeah.
You don't want to see me this sad because you don't know what to do with me. You know the happy, funny bee,
Yeah.
but you don't know the sad bee. So you're uncomfortable around that.
Yeah.
But what I did is stuff that was really key. Some of the stuff I still have. 12 years later, I still have. Here's a beautiful leather jacket that we had made, a custom one made in Florence that he wore. I think he wore twice. But I'm gonna give it to my grandson when he gets a little bit older because it's just a classic. But I decided with his direction somewhat who to give what when.
Yeah.
You know, so. One of the sweetest things is that I've got a great picture of him in a plaid Pendleton jacket, black and white plaid shirt that he wore all the time. He loved it. And there's a picture of him with my oldest grandson on his lap as a toddler. Well, 2 Thanksgivings ago, he comes in to his mother's house wearing the shirt.
Oh, nice.
Wearing
I
the
know
shirt.
that touched your heart.
I just grabbed his little face and just kissed him. Yeah. So there's all those kind of memories that are around.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not everyone understands. Not everyone understands. I have a girlfriend whose husband died quite suddenly. Took her 3 years.
Yeah.
To touch. It's her deal.
Right. Exactly.
And it's no one's business on how soon you do whatever you're going to do with whatever it is you want to do.
Exactly. What about, let's speak to like the cars, the emails, the phone calls, the visits after the person's loved one had died, or when a loved one died, like you, because people mean well, but they call, they text, they email, they come over, they want to bring food,
Right.
And sometimes the person just want to be left alone.
What's interesting, and there's something I tell people, when you have someone who has died, people immediately want to start bringing food.
Right.
And I'm saying don't.
Right.
Don't. The reason being is, first, at least for me, I had no appetite.
Right.
I mean, I lost 18 pounds during this process. I ain't got 18 pounds to lose, but I lost 18 pounds. But what I recommend is to get a gift card to a grocery store or to a restaurant or something like that. And the person can pick and choose what they want. Or you can do like what I'll do, I'll bring over paper products, I'll bring over sodas, I'll bring over water, you know, something like that that people, that's not going to go bad.
Yeah.
You know, you can give them money, but a lot of people want to rush over and bring the lasagna, the pot of beans, and all that stuff, and then you feel guilty. What am I going to do? I don't have room for all this stuff.
Exactly.
They're going to bring over cakes. They're going to bring over pies, and whatever. And what my sister and I did, because we didn't have a huge family, we ate out a lot.
Yeah.
So you got this other food at home you don't want to be bothered with. So kind of understand the family before you start, you know, loading up with food.
Yeah, that's good. Grief is a natural outcome, death of a loved one. What are some misconceptions about grief and grieving?
Well, the time limit. People think, okay, my husband's been gone 12 years, I should be over it.
Right.
Well, I've made my adjustments, but when I just got back from taking 2 of my grandsons to Vietnam, he was in Vietnam.
Yeah.
So he was with me
Right.
mentally throughout the entire thing. So you've got to respect the grieving process of that particular individual.
Right.
You want to make yourself available, but you don't also want to be intrusive to that particular person.
Right.
You want to watch them and see, you know,
Yeah.
if there's an opening or not. And if you say you're going to do something, do it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just need to show up. I'm here today. You're going to have me do something.
Yeah.
I'm going to wash your car. I'm going to do your laundry. I'm doing something because I'm here. And someone may not answer the door.
Yes.
And so the best you can do is slip a note under it. You can, voicemail's great.
Yeah.
Thinking about you, I love you. And then just keep that person in prayer and try to keep them in your focus.
Yes. You know, I really do hope people really watch this program because, you know, for me, I'm actually learning a lot here.
Good.
I mean, I've, you know, saw you do presentations at the county and stuff like that, but just to sit down and just have these one-on-one conversations, you know, it's needed. You know, a lot of times too, when you think of death and dying, people automatically associate that with people that's older.
Right.
They don't think about 15, 16, and 17-year-olds either. And they need to be educated on things like this as well if they lose a mom or a dad or somebody on how to deal with things like this.
Or a sibling. I had a good girlfriend of mine. As a matter of fact, the one that helped me edit the second book. I came back, I was doing something, I don't know what I was doing. And I pulled up to Bel Air and the phone rang. And she doesn't call me a lot, I'm more the phone person.
Yeah.
And she said, B. I said, yeah, Gladys. She said, we found Catrice dead this morning.
Wow.
Her daughter had had a seizure during the night.
Wow.
And had died.
Yeah.
And she was young.
Yeah, wow.
In that. But the first thing she did is grab the book.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
The very first thing she did, to grab the book.
Yeah.
And I was, okay, hold tight, I'll be there. And we was, let's do the obituary. And I printed off, because all the forms in the book are available on my website.
Okay, good.
So that part's available to anyone.
Yeah.
So I helped her walk through this. And different people would come to me because of my background. What do I need to do? You know, something as simple as I helped her do the program.
Yeah.
You know, who to include, who not to include. You know, the format. And it was interesting because this young woman, she really loved Harry Potter. Mm-hmm. She says, "Well, how do I work that in?" I said, "You play the theme of the Harry Potter either when people are walking in, or doing the video presentation." Mm-hmm. I mean, she liked that, and she liked something else. I said, personalize it, and it was probably the most uplifting and fun funeral I've ever been to, because it reflected the personality of that particular person. But the book was able to be a guide in this very sudden death situation.
Wow, wow. You know, I like that it was tailored, you know, to the person who passed away, and I think that's important too. I know I'm going to kind of piggyback a bit. I know we as African Americans, we are taught to be strong and get over things really quickly, and it could be years and years later.
Right.
You know, so I like the fact that you kind of spoke to a person's grieving process is different.
It is.
You know, it could be 3 years, 12 years, 5 years. You know, it's up to that individual.
And depends on the person. I mean, you may grieve harder over the death of your mother than your father, based on a relationship. You may grieve differently over one sibling over another. It's not a cookie cutter situation. So you have to try to be as sensitive to that as possible. And also the person who is grieving, cut yourself some slack.
Yeah.
You know, if you feel like a pile of poop today, you feel like a pile of poop.
Exactly.
Some days you're going to be angry.
Exactly.
And there's times I remember after Rick died, I'd walk through the house and I'd go, "Dadgummit, Rick, you died.
Yeah.
That wasn't part of the deal at all.
Yeah.
You died. Now what am I supposed to do?"
Yeah.
I mean, the grandkids, you know, they need you. It's like, dadgummit.
Yeah.
You know, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. At what point did you start to kind of, I hate to say it like this, but kind of rebuild your life without Rick? Like, kind of talk about some of the things that you started doing to help you with this new journey of life.
Well, what I would do, again, because I had the luxury of him dying, so I would be in the kitchen eating by myself, and he's in the living room in a hospital bed, and I would tell myself, "Okay, B, put your head around this. Soon, this is going to be a norm.
Yeah.
You will be eating by yourself."
Yeah.
When I would go to church and sit in, quote, our pew, I said, "You're going to be sitting here by yourself."
Yeah.
So I really tried to walk in that widow's shoes, you know, as best I can. I mean, as best I can. Sometimes it was easy, and sometimes it wasn't.
Yeah.
My next door neighbor, for instance, she asked me, she said, "Well, what are you going to do when Rick goes? Are you going to redecorate the house?" And I went, I don't know. She says, "You need to put your own stamp on it." So what I did, when I had time, there'd be an aide at the house, I'd go to Lowe's and look around at paint, or look around at this, or look at furniture. Didn't buy anything, but it took my mind to the future.
Yeah.
She said, "Are you going to take a trip?" Because Rick and I used to travel internationally. And I said, "Well, I guess I should." And so my girlfriend said, "Where do you want to go?" I said, "Any place Rick and I haven't been."
Yeah, nice.
And so we ended up going to Greece. But Rick was a huge history buff. So every place I went in Greece, every place, I thought of him.
Yeah.
I can remember, as far as anger, I was on the bus one time, and we had to do the check for your passport, whatever. We get off the bus to get on the ship to do the Greek Isles, and I couldn't find my passport. You kind of need your passport.
Yes.
And my girl from school, she said, "Sister," she said, I'll stay with you. Don't worry about it." And so our tour director said, "Could it be on the bus?" I'd had this silky raincoat, and I was checking things. It had fallen on the ground. They called the bus driver got it, brought it back, but I was furious. I was furious at Rick, because Rick was the one that handles all of our travel documents.
Yeah.
He had the tickets, he would have the passports. I didn't have to do any of that.
Yeah.
And I was livid that he wasn't there to do that.
Wow. Wow.
He had the nerve to die, you know, so.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. So, what are some harder hills that a grieving person has to climb after the loved one is gone?
Unfinished business.
Yeah.
I had a family friend who lost a daughter, and the daughter, they had a very tumultuous relationship.
Yeah.
And so the child died before the relationship could be repaired.
Ooh, yeah.
So that was an open wound
Yeah.
for years.
Yeah.
And you have to learn to forgive yourself,
Yeah.
to realize, everyone was going through whatever. And you
Yeah.
can't go and reinvent the wheel. You can't pick up spilled milk.
Yeah.
So it's something that was tough, but it was something that did absolutely happen.
Yeah, that's got to be really, really hard to have some form of strong disagreement with
Right.
someone and you're not speaking on
Right.
terms, and then all of a sudden one of you guys leave.
Well, you know what? And that's what I tell people. Live your life like if today is the last day of the rest of your
Right,
life.
right.
Because it could be. Today
Yeah.
is the last day of the rest of your life. Are you going to be mad at your cousin?
Yeah.
You're going to be mad at your mom because she
Yeah.
didn't bake the cookies and
Yeah.
that? Get over it.
Exactly.
Get over it.
Exactly. That's exactly right. I want to know, because to me, you speak of Rick as if he's still here. I can tell you really love this man. How did you guys meet?
Well,
I want to hear that story.
okay. I worked for Xerox.
Okay.
I was a Xerox lady. And so I had sold a machine to his old location, I don't know, a year before we started dating. Well, then they had the big post office open up in West Sacramento. And so his machine was the first one that went down, the old one. And I was selling more there. So he had to let me in this unfinished business. And I thought he was the biggest flipping grump in the world. It was just, I didn't like him at all. Plus he had glasses. So he had me walk around. I got ready to go to the car and he goes, B, do you like jazz? I went, oh man, he's gonna ask me out.
Yeah.
And so he gave me his card. I took the card and threw it in the back seat. I said, out, please. And,
Yeah.
I married him a year later.
Yeah. So you ended up. Who called who? You called him, or do you remember me? Who
He
initiated the contact?
he called me,
Uh-huh.
and then he didn't call again. So I called him,
Yeah.
and then a year later we got married.
Yeah.
Probably less than a year.
So, do you have any final comments that you would like to share with the audience about getting it together?
Well, it's not a matter of if or when, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So the gift that you give your family and give yourself is get it together now.
Yeah.
Because we're all going to go. And
Yeah.
I guarantee anyone, if you do that, get it together now, you're not going to die any sooner.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
will alleviate a lot of stress and strain on everyone, including yourself.
Yes, exactly. The new norm. The new norm. Touch on that a little bit more.
Well, it's interesting. The new norm, I can remember when I was going through my grief, my older sister was telling me, well, don't worry. She said, you always be Mrs. Rick Bailey. I cannot be Mrs. Rick Bailey if there's no Mr. Rick Bailey.
That's right.
So I had to really reinvent myself
Yeah.
and just say, okay, I didn't have to work, which was, I was fortunate I didn't have to work. What are you going to do? And so
Yeah.
I did reinvent myself through this book. I've traveled
Yeah.
internationally with the book. I've had a TV show for 3 years.
Nice.
I give presentations, and I never tire of that. So I've reinvented myself from being a widow
Yeah.
to being a television host at one time, an author, and then a professional speaker. So
Yeah. Wow. And I'm sure that your kids and grandkids, they kind of, they was very instrumental with kind of helping you reinvent yourself too, because they was involved. And
no, they weren't.
they weren't at all.
I did my thing. They would have been much happier with
Yeah.
me staying home baking cookies. Now my daughter, on the other hand, she went, Mom, get out there, start dating, get out
Yeah.
there. You're young enough, get out there and do whatever. But even the dating thing, you've got to do it at your own pace.
Yes, that's
Right.
true. So you just got a son and a daughter.
I have a son and a daughter, 5 grandchildren and 2 great grands.
And I ask you that because it's us men, we want to keep mom close, but as a woman,
Yeah.
your daughter like, look, you need to
Get
kind of
out there, get out there,
exactly.
get out there, Mom. And my son's like, what? Why?
Yeah.
What do you need? You got me. You don't need anyone
exactly.
else. Yeah.
Well, this has definitely been once again an eye-opening show for me personally.
Good.
When I did see you do the presentation at Sac County, I knew I had to get you on this show. I
Thank
knew
you.
it because
Thank
I
you.
knew that this show is going to be very, very instrumental with touching so many people's lives. And I just want to say thank you for, being a guest on the show. And, I'm going to check in with you again. So in the future, have you come back and we'll kind of, do some more things and stuff. So, but we're running out of time. And once again, thank you.
Thank you so much.
And that's it for today's edition of Mental Health Matters. If you enjoyed this particular show, if you want a DVD copy of this particular show, or if you would like to be a guest on the show, please dial 916-366-4600. Thank you.